Okay, so welcome to this breakout room. Thanks for coming to our breakout room here about how to find and work with a Rockstar virtual assistant, a VA. I am Gina Cotner. I'm the founder and CEO of Athena Executive Services. And I brought with me today Jennifer Tracy. She's got like the big stormtrooper headset on, which is super cool. So you can tell she's like in the control room. She's going to move slides for me and let people in from the waiting room. She's the operations manager here at Athena Executive Services. So she may also jump in, answer some questions, correct me if I'm wrong, because she really does run the day-to-day operations of the company. And I am super, super lucky and blessed to have her. So it's really great to be with you guys. We've had a great relationship with Limitless Advisor for some years now, and we've been on their list of preferred providers, and we've been super grateful to be there. So it's awesome to be able to kind of give back to the Limitless Advisor community. All right, let's get rolling. So let's go to the next slide. Here's what I'm going to offer you today. So we're going to give you the lowdown on the VA world. So at a high level, I'm going to give you what all is out there in the world of VA, virtual assistant. And sometimes I'm going to say virtual assistant, sometimes I'm going to say executive assistant. I mean, all basically the same thing, because we are, in my firm, we're virtual executive assistants. Well, I'm going to do a little rundown with you about what can they do? What do they cost? Then I'm going to give you the behind the scenes of how our firm works specifically. And then if there's pieces and parts of that that you like or don't like, that should make you a smarter shopper if and when you go shopping for a VA. And then we're going to look at, well, if you got yourself a VA, now what do you do with them? And then we'll do some Q&A. But really, you guys, I don't mind Q&A along the way. So if you have a question, pop up your virtual hand, because that will put you to the top of the line, so to say, the front of the line, and I'll know you have a question and I'll get to it as soon as I can. But it doesn't bother me. Don't worry about it interrupting my flow or whatever. My flow will flow on. So that's all where we're going to go today. Let's drop that slide so we can all just be together again. And let me just find out a little bit about you guys so that I can customize a bit for what you already know or don't know and not waste any of your time. So I'd love to know, with a show of virtual hands, if you can pop your virtual hand up again, it will reorder you on my screen, and then I'll get a sense of who's saying yes to my question. Who has already tried using a virtual assistant of some kind? Who's already done, you've tried it. It might have been $5 an hour out of the Philippines. It might have been your niece, Belinda. It might have been your friend's VA, who she said was super, super great. Okay, so just 4 of you have tried a virtual assistant of some kind. Okay, thanks. You can go ahead and drop your hands. How many people have a virtual assistant right now? You have a VA right now. Okay. Oh, sorry, I raised my physical hand and then you guys did that. Oh, I didn't want to cause that. So throw up your virtual hand if you can, because then I can see those. Okay, great. Terry and Brent and Diane. And then anybody who doesn't have their camera on, if you're raising your real hand, I won't see it, of course. That's why I like the little virtual hands. Okay, great. All right, so 3 of you have one right now. Okay, good. So I think everything I'm gonna have planned here is gonna apply. All right, JT, let's look at our next slide and let's dive in about the industry. So I'm going to give you a high-level overview about what is out here in the industry itself. It's kind of the wild, wild west. So you've got what I would call virtual anything. You want slide decks done, you want podcast work done, you want editing done, you got projects to do. You can farm a lot of that out on Upwork and Fiverr. Then you have the international scene, overseas VAs, most of which are going to be in the Philippines. But there's a lot of other virtual work getting done out of India or Afghanistan or Argentina or Brazil or even Africa. Probably not so much the kind of work that you all need to get done. Then you've got US-based agencies. Their staff is likely right here in the United States. And the agencies all operate a little bit differently. And I will dive a little deeper into that here in a little bit about the different ways that US-based agencies work. And then finally, you have what I call the unicorns. They are freelancers. They just work for themselves. They would be an awesome VA for you if you find them. So they're sitting at their dining room table right now in, Lexington, Kentucky. They've got great business experience. They'd be a fabulous partner for you. They're going to be more expensive than the Philippines, not as expensive as a US-based agency, except you got to go find them. Okay, so that's a high-level overview of what's out there in the world about if you go shopping. These are the different kind of buckets you'd be shopping from. All right, let's take a look at the next piece here, which is what can they do? So they could manage your calendar. They can be in your inbox. They can keep your CRM up to date. Imagine that. Come on, nothing more annoying than trying to keep your CRM up to date. All kinds of project coordination, research, maybe getting the research going, maybe finishing the research. All those gifting programs you may want to do, making sure everybody gets appreciated on their birthday or their anniversary date or at a holiday, or somebody had a baby or somebody's getting married. Who's taking care of that? All kinds of travel research is possible. And then this third bullet here, I say light, because I mean light social media. I know you guys are highly regulated about social media, but a light amount of social media, a light amount of bookkeeping, light website updates, right? They're not going to redesign your website for you, but those updates, I run to my EA and I say, take this one thing down, put this one thing up. Okay, she can do that. Light bookkeeping, right? They're not going to be your bookkeeper. And then a whole vast world of personal projects they can take off your plate, which is super fun. And in my experience, they love to do it, right? So should you happen to have a need for a charred barrel and a toasted barrel in which you could put Blanco tequila to turn it into Añejo tequila, these are the people that can do that research for you. I'm teasing myself because that was a recent project from my EA. I said, go find me the barrels that I need to age tequila, right? Go do research for me so I can have my 50th birthday on a yacht in Puget Sound. I don't know anything about renting a yacht. I know a lot about renting a yacht now, thanks to her. Right? So all kinds of personal projects they can take off your plate. Flowers to mom, spring break research travel, ordering insoles for your pickleball shoes. These are all the fun things they get to do. There's a little note here at the bottom of this slide, and this is really the point of it all, which is for you to stay in your zone of genius and where the unique resource that you are will be best utilized. So go ahead and drop that slide, Jennifer. You want to delegate everything else that you don't enjoy, that is not in your zone of genius, which I know Limitless advisors probably already given you all kinds of coaching about. Use your EA to do the parts of the project also you don't enjoy or you're not good at. Maybe you're not a starter, right? You want your EA to start that research, do step 1, 2, 3. Then you'll take step 4, 5, 6. Then maybe you hand it back to them to take steps 7, 8, and 9. Okay, it's all really good uses of your EA. So let me pause there for a minute. Next thing we're going to go into is all the costs. Okay, so and I'm going to tell you straight up costs because we've done our industry research. But let me just pause right there. Any questions so far? Yeah, buts, how abouts, what do you think about? Just raise your electronic hand. It'll make it easier for me to see that you have a question. Terry?
Yeah, when it comes to doing tasks that are sensitive in nature, meaning the client material, and I know we have a lot of restrictions with being, in our industry. How do we navigate that? How do we delegate that? And what is the best way to train that person so you're efficient about it?
Yeah. Well, Jennifer, I think I might let you chime in here with me because I don't see, So we'll get into this a little bit more, but in our case, we have a master service agreement with all of our clients, and there's a big confidentiality clause in there that pretty much covers anything that somebody might want covered in an NDA. So confidentiality and security is supremely important in this industry, but particularly if you're going to work with financial advisors, needless to say. Beyond, and I'll let JT, Jennifer Tracy, say anything more about that she wants to in a minute. Beyond that, it is simply delegating to them what you need, how you need it done. Oftentimes your vision, I could do a whole other hour on how do you delegate effectively. Okay, that is a bit of a whole other topic, but we could touch on it a little bit. But one of the key elements of really effectively delegating is letting people know the context behind what you're delegating. So it's not just call this person, get this information, right? The why, the what should you know about that person? And you may think to yourself, well, by the time I give them the context, I tell them the why, and I give them the background, I could have just done it my own self. Except you're investing in your life that you get to lead a month from now. So yeah, you'll tell them how you would like that done and what's the importance of that person and what's really the point of that project or that phone call, because 3 weeks from now, you won't have to explain that again. Okay. Jennifer, what else would you add for Terry? It's a great question.
Yeah, more on a logistical side of things. One, all of our executive assistants do take extra precautions. They make sure all of their malware is updated, that they have their BitLocker turned on. They use, a 2-factor authentication on their computers. They're not allowed to go out and use their computers in a public, domain like Starbucks or a cafe. A lot of our clients also have the option of setting them up with a virtual remote desktop. So they can log in to your platforms in this secured platform so that they're not actually downloading any materials onto their computer. Another option is that we do have some clients who will ship a laptop to their EA, who then of course would get shipped back once if their work is done. But it also provides peace of mind knowing that they're using one specific computer just for their stuff. And so it's just that extra added level of security. So those are a few ways that we look at working with confidential information, especially when you're dealing with your clients' financial stuff. I hope that helped a little.
Yeah,
no, that did. Thank you. That was like a good high level. I think the area that I would love to just be able to hand off all of my compliance tasks. And I don't know how to do that efficiently. And this might not be the right question for this particular conversation, but that is like where my head is right now.
Really great question. And a lot of times you can, once they pass like their background check and they get set up with compliance and whoever you're working with, they'll be able to be set up on that side of things to be able to come in and handle anything client facing or, inside of your CRM, anything else that you're dealing with, depending on what you want to turn over to your EA.
Right. All right, Sheena, thanks for the question in the chat. Yeah, you guys feel free to put questions in the chat as well if that's easier for you, or if you prefer to. Sheena asks, are the virtual EAs client-facing phone/email? Certainly can be. Up to you. Okay, certainly can be. You may not start there week 1, right? But absolutely, particularly in the world of scheduling. And getting all those meetings scheduled for you so that is just not taking any of your space, any of your time. Diane Esser's on here and she's a new client of ours and she's in a fairly new still relationship. You don't have to, but if you want to chime in on your thoughts, because I know you're in you guys have been together maybe 4 weeks.
Yeah, I don't have Rachel doing anything client facing yet. Because I'm still onboarding her, and I haven't had, I also work with a virtual paraplanner who I've worked with like maybe 7 years now. So she's not client facing either. So that's pretty slow going for me. But now that I've been working with Rachel, I think that I will have her work on scheduling and work through some client emails, like obtaining additional information that wasn't sent in. So some like smaller things like that to get started.
Great. Thanks for adding a little color there for that. Okay, good. Okay, any other questions anybody sitting on before we go into what the heck this all costs? No, Gina, we don't want to slow down finding out what this all costs. Okay, let's look at that slide real briefly and then we'll drop it. So the cheapest, I'm going to go from the bottom to the top. The cheapest you're going to find out there is, again, overseas. The most expensive is going to be US agencies, and in the middle are going to be those unicorns, okay? So those are the buckets. You can drop that now, I think. So overseas is going to be anywhere between $6 an hour to $14 an hour. And sometimes and I tell you that because as you go shop the industry, sometimes you don't know that firm is an overseas firm. They really look like they're right here in the US. And then when you get the pricing, if the pricing is super low, that's going to be your sign that, oh, I think these might be people in the Philippines. You may not mind. It depends upon the kind of work that you want done. So there are pros and cons. You've got time zone issues to deal with. Obviously in the overseas domain. Command of the English language, both written and verbal. And again, depending upon what you want them to do, may work for you, may not. One thing I would say also to consider when you look overseas, and even a little bit domestic within the United States, is the cultural norms. So cultural norms, in the Philippines, for example, is it might be almost shameful to go to you as a boss and say, I made a mistake. So they may do everything they can, turn themselves and do backflips and turn themselves inside out to make sure you don't find out that thing just happened, because it's so shameful to come to you and say they made a mistake. Whereas you're probably like me, like, just tell me you screwed that thing up. I'll help you fix it, or I'll do the thing. Or, had I known you made that mistake 4 days ago, I could have mitigated all kinds of issues. So I've heard about that as a potential issue, and that's just cultural, right? Everybody's trying to do their best. It's just their best isn't necessarily what you would want. The most expensive being US agencies. US agencies are going to cost you somewhere between $35 and $55 an hour, I'd say, for what I call executive assistant work, EA work. And I'll just be really transparent with you. We're $50 an hour to start. So we're at the upper echelon. Hi, Bridget, welcome. Great to see you live in person. And then, like I said, the unicorns that are out there, they're not going to charge $6 an hour. They're not going to charge $50 an hour. They're probably going to charge $20, $25, maybe $30 an hour. Those are the freelancers who just work for themselves. And you're going to have to do the work to find them. So there's the recruiting and the screening and the vetting of whoever's going to work for you. So you're either going to spend the time to do that, or you're going to spend the money for somebody else to do that. That one way or the other, that work's going to have to get done. I just saw those questions in the chat, so I'll get to them in just a second. I'll dive a little bit deeper into US agencies. So some US agencies are going to charge you by the hour, just like we do. We're just a flat $50 an hour, 10-hour a week minimum. So you'll often find minimums. Some agencies will charge you a package for the month. So you can do the math on that, and that'll kind of give you a sense of what that works out to be by the hour. Some agencies have employees, some have contractors. In our case, we have contractors. They're all their own business people with their own business licenses, their own professional liability insurance. Their business invoices our business for the work that they do for a client. Other agencies have all employees, Okay, so if that makes a difference for you one way or the other, that's there. Some agencies promise you a college graduate, for example. We don't, for example. Some agencies will give you like an account manager. So you have a point person you're talking to, but who's doing the work is a team of people in the background, various people. Other agencies like us, we're going to assign you somebody to ride off into the sunset with. So Diane has Rachel, and they, we're going to keep being up under Rachel, her EA, and have her just keep being a rock star, being a rock star, being a rock star. So Diane can like ride off into the sunset with her. So that gives you a little bit of a sense of the US agencies. Let me pop over here and see what your guys' great questions are. Okay, Mark says, a concern would be a VA turnover through an agency agreement. Okay, let me find Mark. Where are you, Mark? Are you on camera? Jennifer, do you see Mark? Am I crazy?
Mark's not on camera.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
All right.
I am now.
Oh, there you are. Hey, Mark. Can you
Hi.
just, I think I know what you mean, but will you just flesh that out and then I'll address it?
Yeah, not a big concern, but just wondering, you get down the road with somebody for 6 months, train them on your systems, and you call me and say, you know what, Diane's not working for us anymore. We're gonna work with so-and-so. And I'm just asking the question.
Yeah,
Get a
no, it's
feel for it.
really good question. And when you guys are shopping, you should steal his question. That's a really good, really good question. Because that is one of the biggest things we are working on making sure doesn't happen. When it does happen, Jennifer and I like lose sleep for 3 nights pretty much. And it's not to say it hasn't happened. So here's what we do in our case. And again, I'm going to keep sharing what we do just so when you guys go shop, you can be smarter shoppers. We ask everybody that comes to work for us to commit to 2 years. Now, I don't have a way to legally bind them to that, right? If they say I'm moving to Zimbabwe, they're moving to Zimbabwe and I hate you and I never want to work for you again. Okay, well, I'm not going to fight to have that person keep working for me. So that's one thing, is that we do have a lot of attention on that. If something should happen, we pay for the burden of the turnover. Let's put it that way, because in the early days, in those first months, the first weeks that you're working with your EA, to Mark's point, you're investing a lot in them, right? Your life is not instantly going to get easier tomorrow if you have an EA today, but you're investing in something and in a person that 2 months from now is going to make your life a lot easier. And a year from now, a whole lot easier. So you've done all that investing. If we had to replace that person, then what we do, I don't know if this is the perfect answer, but this is just what we've come up with. We pay for all those turnover hours, whatever hours you got to spend with a new person, or we'll have the old EA train the new EA, and any of that training hours, we eat all that. We won't ever pass that on to a client because we hate that we're having to do that turnover. And we also have the ability to backfill. So another thing you might consider in your shopping. But if your EA gets pregnant and they want to go on maternity leave, right? Who's going to take care of that? So, we have a small army of people. So we have people there to backfill. So that's a great question, Mark. I'm glad you brought it up. Terry asks, does your fee vary depending on the task? Nope, not for us. But that's a great question in your shopping. Because I think that, I don't know if people do that, but I do think that there are firms that will say, okay, you're going to just interact with Jennifer Tracy, but if it's travel, she's going to farm out travel projects to this person. If it's CRM updates in Redtail, that's going to get farmed out to this person. If it's blah, 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 surge meeting scheduling, I'm going to farm that out to this person. We don't operate like that. It's just one person, doesn't matter what tasks, whether they're sending flowers to mom or they're scheduling surge meetings, it's the same rate. Bridget says, I haven't had a problem with turnover. It's been terrific. Okay, thank you for that. Terry, can you roll over unused hours if you happen to have a slow week? So we only charge for the hours used, but that's another great question. So if somebody's telling you, you get 20 hours in a month and we're going to charge you this much for the quote unquote monthly package, what if I don't use all those? That's a great question. We just only charge for what we've worked. Okay, Nick says, did you say 10 hours a week minimum, essentially $2,000 a month? Yes. Thank you. You all super fast math people, of course. 10 hours a week minimum, $50 an hour. That's what we do, but that just gives you a benchmark. Are they trained in all the custodians? No. How much training is the hiring advisor responsible for? So we are executive assistants more than specialists in the finance industry. It's just that now we've had so many financial advisor clients that literally 3/4 of our EAs now work for financial advisors. And we have a monthly huddle with all of the executive assistants. And all the financial advisor assistants literally have their own huddle now. They did the leadership, the people who've been around the longest came to me and Jennifer and said, we want to have our own huddle and we want to talk about questions that only EAs would have if they work for advisors, and learn the lingo and I'm using WealthBox. Who here knows WealthBox? Okay, you should go talk to these 3 EAs that have used WealthBox, right? So we've kind of become our own internal hub of information, you might say. JT, anything else you'd say about the custodians? Obviously they get it over time, but they're not going to arrive in your office with that custodial knowledge.
Yeah, we do try to have it. So when I am, vetting a potential client, possibly you, I'm going to ask you specific questions like what CRM system are you using? What other platforms are you using? And when I am matching you with someone, if they don't already have that background relatedness, we do try to have them meet up with one of our other EAs who we consider to be proficient so that they can get the basic ground level of learning the systems, right? Just where all the different buttons are and how things flow, so that when they do come to you, all you're training and developing them in is your structures and systems that you have already put together. So you're not having to train them from the ground up on how to use Redtail or WealthBox or any of those. So that's kind of where we stand. And our EAs really do get up underneath each other. They go to our team first before coming to you to ask you a question about something that they can find out from someone else to save you time. So we really utilize that knowledge.
Right. Okay. Angela asks, do some do TD Ameritrade paperwork to open and transfer accounts? I think eventually they do. What happens is people come on as an EA and then the advisor goes, oh, well, if he or she can do that, they can darn well do all this other stuff. You just need to show them how. This is how we ended up here originally, was in this dance with financial advisors, was financial advisors saying to us, your people could do all this other work. Don't you want them to do all this other work? All this back end paperwork? And we said, yes, you just need to show them how. So it's like you get the quality of the kind of person that's going to operate with the level of integrity at which you need them to operate, but they're not going to walk in knowing how to do TD Ameritrade paperwork. And they're eager to, because they will have teammates here at Athena that'll go, oh yeah, I've been doing that for 6 months. I can answer a question or two about that, but I don't want to represent to you that we're experts. Let's put it that way. Okay, Bridget asked me a private question, but I'm going to answer it publicly because it's a great one and I was going to get to it anyway, which is, what if you wanted to buy out an agreement for your EA and hire them full-time? So in our master service agreement, we have what's called a conversion clause, which means you are going to pay us essentially to take our asset away. And it's based on how long they've been with you. The longer they've been with you, the cheaper the buyout. Because at that point, we've already made X amount of revenue off of you as a client. Let's just put it that way. So If you buy somebody out from us, say, and they've only been with us and you for less than 6 months, that's going to be the most expensive. That's going to be, I think we start at $15,000. And then it goes down, let's say they've been with you for 2 years, I think it goes down to $9,000. And that's just a one-time fee. And then you two ride off into the sunset. Now, if you think you may want that, you think, I think I might want a full-time employee EA, and I'm not sure. If you were working with us, again, I don't know what other people are going to do. You would tell Jennifer, because if you work with us, your initial call is going to be with this Jennifer right here, Jennifer Tracy. You would tell her, listen, please find me somebody, Jennifer, who could potentially work full-time for me. Because we're mostly attracting part-time operators, and they might work for 1 or 2 advisors part-time because they also have other gigs, or they're raising children, or they're doing whatever they're doing. Not everybody wants a 40-hour-a-week job. But for a lot of them, that's really appealing. Like, oh, really? I might ride off into the sunset with this person. And it's just uncanny in the last 6 months how much this has happened. So some days I feel like we're becoming more of a placement agency, which is okay. You know, it's okay too. As long as the EA with us really wants to go do that and you really want to do that, we're never going to block it. You just pay that fee and they go become your employee. And that's called a conversion fee. So if you're out there shopping, you can ask people that question. That's a great question. You can steal each other's good questions. Okay, good. I think we're just naturally doing the whole entire talk here right off of your guys' questions. Let me see where I was actually going to go next. Let's bring up that slide that's about how we work. We'll give you a few more things about how, like the backstory of what we do, and then you can steal any of this as you're shopping. So we have a master service agreement. There's a confidentiality clause, which I already talked about, which handles most of anything you'd want handled in an NDA. There's the conversion fee that we were just talking about that Bridget brought up. We allow for cancellation on 10 days notice. So that's another good thing, is what are you trapped into or not? And then our staff are independent contractors with their own business license, their own professional liability insurance. I think I've touched on most of this now. We do the vetting, screening, and developing. The EA performance is our problem. So in our company, we have performance coaches that forever, this never stops. Every other week at a minimum, they're talking to the EAs about, what are you working on with Britton? What are you working on with Angela? How's it going? Where are you stuck? Where are you winning? So that they always have a coach over here so that their performance is our issue more than yours. And then you'll always have a phone number you can call, and you can call Jennifer Tracy and go, hey, Rachel really picked up these 3 things really well, but she keeps not quite picking up this other thing. Can you guys do something about that? And then we will swoop in and do something about that. Okay. And then the last thing on this slide says that your EA might, and this has been happening a little bit recently, you're with them for say 18 months or maybe 2 years, and you go, well, this person could just be our operations manager and kind of just be our practice manager, because they now know the ins and outs of everything, and they know how to manage details all the way through to completion and keep the whole team moving forward and moving all the action forward. And if you want to do that and they want to do that, we'll do that. We will charge more. You know, we'll charge somewhere between $75 and $90 an hour for them to become a practice manager, and we'll rewrite the contract. And then if you say, well, we still need an EA, then we can backfill the EA position. So that's something that's been happening a little bit recently as well. Let me see if there's anything else I want to say about that. Let's go ahead and drop that slide so I can see everybody. All right, does that drive up any more questions for people? Yeah, but how about what if? Ooh, comparable to hiring a recruiter, Terry says. Yeah, kind of. And you know, I don't want to be in the recruiting business, but you could kind of use us like that in a way. Yeah, it certainly gives you the opportunity to try somebody out and then be able to just cancel it at any time and be like, I didn't like that. You know, yep. Britton says a try before you buy clause. Yeah, a little bit like that. Exactly. Now we will say, I will just say, just because I'm being pretty transparent with you guys today, if we give you somebody that you really don't like, we did not do our job well. Like Jennifer and I will be very, very unhappy with ourselves. And we have a pretty dang good track record of pairing you with somebody who really is strong. So it's not, yeah, I don't want it to be like just sampling people, and you could use it that way. Let's put it that way. All right, Angela asked, do you have people in or near the Pacific time zone? Yeah, we have people scattered throughout the entire country. So that's a fun conversation. If you do talk to Jennifer, one of the initial things she'll ask you is, where are you and where are they? So it can be, you could be on the West Coast and have an East Coast EA who's in your inbox getting things all organized before your head's even off the pillow and in your first cup of coffee. So that's kind of fun, the different ways that you can play with the time zones. Or you could say, okay, I really need somebody in my time zone for XYZ reason. But that time zones are a definite conversation that you would have with Jennifer. Because there are pros and cons to having somebody right in your time zone, or maybe a little ahead or maybe a little behind. And one of the questions she'll ask is, are there any critical meetings? You might say, yes, I've got an all team meeting every Friday at 9 a.m. and they've got to be there. Okay, well, she's going to make sure to find you an EA for whom that works. What other questions do you guys have? How long is the waiting list to get an EA on board? Okay. Right now, there isn't one. Now, I can't promise you, we were sort of proud when we first had a waiting list, right? We were like, oh, we have a waiting list. We're just that popular. And then it got frustrating that we had a waiting list. And our website will always tell you, JT, why don't you put our website in there in the chat? Our website will always tell you if there's a wait list. It'll have a date. It'll say June 13th. As of now, please email Jennifer Tracy. She will get back to you the week of July 22nd. We will always word it like that. It's this date. But right now we actually have really great talent and we're pretty caught up. So which means we have contractors moving through that vetting and screening process. We have it, which takes a couple weeks. And Jennifer's pretty happy about who we have in the pipeline. And so I would say we don't really have a wait list. So how long would it take to get an EA? I would say if you email Jennifer Tracy, Jennifer, put your email address in here, s'il vous plaît.
Yeah.
She'd probably schedule a call with you for next week or the week after. And then I'd say a couple weeks after that, you'd have an EA. So the whole process right now, I'm thinking takes 3 weeks. Jennifer, am I throwing you under the bus here? Okay. They could easily go to Jennifer and Jennifer be like, what is Gina talking about? She doesn't know how full I am. So yeah, it all starts with emailing her and she just have a brief initial call with you and send you a questionnaire, and that starts to help her get educated about the way you work specifically. And then you'd have a call to drill down on that a little more, so that then when she goes to her collection of contractors, which she's vetting and screening and bringing through a process, she can be on the lookout for, okay, you know, I've got Bridget and she has these certain needs and she's in thus and such a time zone, and Jennifer can be like thinking from there as she's vetting and screening people. Those are all good questions. Yeah, you guys should steal all those questions as you're shopping. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Let's just say you have a VA, you have an EA. Now what do you do? So one thing you could start today is start a list of everything you want people to do, because you might be like, I don't know what I want them to do. We'll start that list. If you hire a VA next week, fine. Or if you hire a VA next week, fine. I mean, next year, fine. But you can start to make a list of things you don't like to do, you're not great at doing, you wish you didn't have to do. And you can just have a little log, you know, pick an app on your phone or on your laptop and just start making a log of, oh, I wonder, I bet an EA could do that. Oh, I bet an EA could do that. And then by the time you have one, you'll have a whole list of things to choose from. And then you could go, all right, of these 20 things I'd like to delegate, what do I think are the first 3 I'd like to start with? Figuring out then how you'll communicate is key. And in the beginning, communicate more rather than less, because it keeps the ship from getting off course, right? You delegate something and the EA is going to go in a certain direction and you want to course correct. if it's getting off course, because it's the very first time that they've done that for you. So come up with a call schedule. You know, we're going to talk every day at 9, or we're going to talk every Monday at 10, or twice a week, or 3 times a week. Just, or I hate texts, or I love texts, or don't ever email me, or always email me, or use Slack, or however, you got to get the lines of communication really wide open. And then I've alluded to this last point here a few times, which is onboarding someone is an investment in your future self. Yes, right now you could do it quicker and faster and cheaper. That's right. But the problem is then you are forever going to have to be the one doing that thing. So in that first month in particular, you're investing in what you're not going to have to do, not have to explain a month from now. So what you get, this is the other thing I'll say as you're shopping, because you might think, well, I don't know if I need 10 hours a week or 15 hours a week or 20 hours a week. Somebody like Jennifer will help you sort that out. But the other thing I'll say is that what you get out of your EA in 10 hours a week in week 2 is very different than in month 2. So while you may not need to be able to add hours onto the package, so to say, because you're getting more and more and more and more out of this person, because they're getting more and more and more efficient. They don't have to ask you those questions anymore that they asked last month. Okay, let's drop this slide and let me look and see what all's popping up here in this chat. You guys are so great. Okay, Elliot says, do you have a good list of possible things that the EA can do to help us to brainstorm? Yes, I would say our website is a pretty good resource. There's a whole list of tasks in all kinds of different categories. And then when people come on board with us, we give them a new client handbook, and it basically has all the best practices for working with an EA. But a list to help you brainstorm, that's a great idea, Elliot. You'll see a bunch of things on our website. And then you can see Bridget's answer to Elliot. I went through my practice and what I felt I could delegate and started there, like workflows, for example. Now my EA does a lot more for me, but I started with my biggest pain points. That's a great place to start. All right, and then our Limitless person, good, as a resource of where to start. Awesome. Okay, good. I just got through all those chats. Thanks you guys for contributing to each other like that. Really, really great. Okay, let's go to my last slide. Here's my big tip. My big tip for delegation. Delegate more than you think they can handle. Then you now work for them in having them succeed. Delegate more than you think they can handle, and now you work for them. So let's drop that. And what do I mean by that? So give them a big piece of the pie, and you will find out how strong they are, or not, as opposed to doling out little teeny tiny tasks. So sometimes I delegate things I have no idea. I don't know how to do this, but I need somebody to help me figure it out. So I give, Corrine is the name of my EA. I'll say, Corrine, I need you to go research this for me. I don't even know what to ask about this topic. Go research. And then I sit back. Now I work for her. I say, all right, Corrine, what do you need from me? She'll say, okay, well, here's what I want to know from you, Gina. I need this, this, and this. And then she'll do some research. Then she needs more from me. Okay, now I need to know this, this, and this. Now it's my job to be like a great partner with her in having her win. So don't feel like you've got to be the expert in everything. You can let them become an expert, and then you be a great partner. What about that? Any questions about that? Insights about that? Yeah, but how about? No. Okay. All right. Well, anything else you want to know? Now I'm just yours, just an expert in the VA world.
I wanted to say, can I just say a couple quick seconds? Not like you paid me to do this, but so I
Yeah.
engaged with Athena like almost 3 months ago, and I've had my practice for almost 6 years, and I've done everything myself. Last year, I went through 4 assistants in 1 year. It was like a nightmare for all sorts of reasons. But one of my peers, another CFP I know, had been working with Athena, and she referred me to them. And so they matched my EA with me. And I just have to tell you, it's like been a game changer. I don't do workflows. Like there's a lot of things I don't know how to do. And I would say, hey, these are the things that would really help me. And I would just, she said, hey, I'm going to use Asana. Is that what, you know, she did the research on, here's what I think the tool is that I need for me to do the job. And I said, you tell me what you need. And she just did it. And I now have like 1 million workflows, and it has helped the efficiency so much because it's just me. It's, you know, me, and I've got like 60 million of assets under management, and I have no time, and all I do is work. So I just wanted to mention, I'm on here because I'm trying to figure out, can I ever get to the point where I could buy this woman, you know, as my own person down the road. But I can't say enough. It has truly helped me build my business better by delegating. So I just wanted to give you my 2 cents on that, because I resisted for years. I didn't want to spend the money, and it's been super helpful.
Yeah, thanks for that, Bridget. I was just going to ask you a little, like, what you had to overcome really in your own head, right? So maybe you might share a little bit about that, or Diane, you might as well, or even Terry, you know, what have you had to overcome to be somebody who can have an assistant?
Well, that's a great question. For me, what I had to overcome, and I'm still working on it, is a huge limiting belief that I can't find somebody that works out. So I've gone through many different virtual assistants over the years, many different firms. And I don't know if it's me not wanting to let go or not, you know, being good at communicating. But my experience had been working with people who overpromised and underdelivered. And it was extremely frustrating. So right now I have 2 virtual people that I'm working with. One of them is she's helping me with marketing, and she's doing a lot of different things. And there was a little bit of a learning curve for both of us. And then she had some health issues, which wasn't great about communicating with me, but we've kind of worked through that. The other one is a guy in Ireland, and I had hired him to help me with my online course that I'm trying to launch. And I just wanted him to build the launch funnel. And it seems like we're just going all the way around in circles. And every time I turn around, he's sending me another bill. So I'm like ready to rip my hair out with him. But I think the woman that I'm working with so far, I think that we communicate. I think that we've kind of come to a good place. I haven't quite figured out if her skill set is enough. Like I might need somebody else to do other things. I haven't figured that out yet. But, you know, my experience with the gentleman, I'm just really just not happy at this point.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for sharing that. And it's kind of some real world things. Diane?
Yeah, my experience so far with Athena has been wonderful. For me, the things I have to overcome are taking the time to slow down and give her the tasks and feel accountable to her to answer her questions. She's very good about checking in at the beginning of the day and the end of the day. We use Trello. So she used that first. I've never used it before, but she's teaching me how to use it, and I really like it. And I like that she took the lead on that and said, okay, this is a great communication tool for us. You list your tasks in here. I can see her comments or questions, and then I can reply back. So it's just a really easy way to communicate other than the email. So I can see what time she worked on something, when she checked my spam folder or my inbox. I use Sane now. So when she's checking those different folders, but I think she's been very good about taking the lead to say, okay, I think I'm going to do this twice a week or 3 days a week, and I'm going to put that on Trello so you can see it. And that has really given me a lot of peace of mind to know that she's really like taking the lead. She's listening to me and she's collaborating with me, but I also feel like she's not just sitting there waiting for me. So
Yeah.
it's been a really good teamwork situation for me to help build my confidence in knowing that I can give her something and I can collaborate with her. And it's not just, okay, she's just going to do it. Because we're new together, we're still collaborating and we're still coming up with the best way to work on things. So it's been a really good experience for me. I guess I've gotten very lucky with Rachel right away. Thank you, Jennifer.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's all, Jennifer. Yeah, really good. Yeah, and I appreciate the real world experience of it, because it does, you've got to find a different gear than you're used to operating in. And, you know, I think about when I delegate a project, sometimes it's in email and I say, I need this shipped to this person by this date. Please go to this website, log in thus in such a way. And I myself am like, dear Lord, the amount of time it took me to write this email, I could have just gone and ordered the dang thing myself. But it's something we're going to do again in the future. And it's going to be a lot. It's going to be half the time, you know, that next time. Oh, there was something you shared about delegating that I was going to contribute. I can't quite remember what it was. Oh, this is one thing we say like behind closed doors. We don't really just say this on a website or anything, but that we, and I would look for this if you want this. One thing Diane alluded to that we are heavily at work on is making sure that you don't just have a task doer. Because if you just gonna have a task doer, you really should just pay $6 an hour and just dole out tasks. And some packages will even say $10 for 5 tasks. Literally, I'm like, how do you even track a task? But as you work with your EA, they should become more and more and more and more a business partner with you. Now, they're never going to be an expert in what you're an expert in, but you will see their confidence rise up until they are really like a confidant sometimes. And if you unleash them, you could have them be an accountability partner for you for almost anything. If you say, listen, I'm a criminal. I always say I'm going to go to yoga. I never go to yoga. I say I got to go do a fat burning heart rate workout 3 times a week. I never do it. Rachel, I need you to schedule me to do that. I need you to make sure I do that. You'll be amazed. Now, I know that is not like the core of what you would give away, but that is really where you start getting bonus level results out of an EA, is when they go, they will be the voice of reason when you won't, particularly around your schedule and your calendar. We often say they're a bodyguard for your calendar, right? So that people aren't wasting your time. But you know, the number one person they're bodyguarding that calendar against is you. Because you're the one who will sell out going to yoga for the next, you know, if I don't return that phone call, oh my God, I'm going to miss the deal or whatever. We all of us business owners will often shove something out of the way to go do the next business thing. And then 3 weeks go by and we haven't worked out. We haven't called our mom. We missed the birthday party or whatever. So you can also deploy your EA to really support you with those things. Listen, I'm a criminal. I really need to go on vacation. I need you to make sure I book this many weeks of vacation this year. I want you to be up my nose asking me, when are you taking your next vacation? What can I research for you? So they're great people to kind of give your weak side to, and then so they strengthen it. What other thoughts or anything you guys want to share with each other that you think would be valuable here in our last few minutes?
Well, Gina, I can answer the question that Angela put in chat really quick. If
Oh,
that
good.
would
Thank you.
make a difference, sure. So Angela had asked, so we could get help doing workflows. And the easy answer is yes. So once your EA is familiar with your system, if you let them know the outcomes, right? Or if you have like a sales process or a podcast process or whatever it is that you're using in your CRM, they can go in and then create those. And again, the EAs that we have really come together and support each other. So most of them already have workflows set up that they can go in and share with like, obviously we're not sharing confidential stuff. We're only sharing the basics of like, okay, what are the different steps that you want to accomplish? Great, here's how you do it. So that they can get that support in setting up those workflows for you that will streamline all of your processes.